Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories. Imagine being 11 years old and being told that every month you have to announce your period to the men in your house, because they supposedly have a right to know. Is that just awkward family communication, or does that cross a serious line? You decide. Am I the asshole for refusing to tell the men in my family about my period? Growing up, my dad said I had to tell him and my brother every month when I got my period. For context, there were 3 girls and 2 males in the house. This started when I first got my period at 11. His reasoning was that, as men, he and my brother needed to know when to expect me to be more hormonal. When I pushed back and said I had a right to privacy, he was adamant that it was his right, as a man and as my father, to know when I was on my period. I didn't go along with it, and I got lectured several times about it. This was many years ago. The thing is, my mom still thinks this is a polite and courteous thing to do, and that it's just being kind and communicative. I completely disagree and feel like it was an invasion of my privacy. My father still, of course, believes he had a right to know. So, am I the asshole for refusing to tell the men in my household whenever I had my period? Update. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your responses. You've all been incredibly supportive. To answer a few common questions, yes, I was raised in a very religious environment, specifically Christianity. My mom says my father's intention was to be kinder to me because I was very emotional during that time of the month. I personally feel like he should have just been kind to me in general. I would also argue that my brother was more emotional at that age than I was. Some of you mentioned he might have wanted to make sure I wasn't pregnant, but that was never a concern with me specifically. I didn't date until college, and I had my first kiss in my 20s. My parents knew that. My brother is completely innocent in all of this. I don't think he had any idea these conversations were even happening. I'm an adult now, and I'm married. I do share my cycle with my husband, but he has never demanded that information or claimed any kind of right over my body. It was my choice to be open with him. Besides being a mortified 11-year-old, that was really my biggest issue with my dad. I wanted privacy and autonomy. Top commenters were very clear that they didn't see this as just awkward, but as deeply inappropriate and controlling. A lot of them called the father's behavior misogynistic and creepy, pointing out that he was assuming all women become irrationally hormonal on their periods. They also noted that this kind of thinking can be used to dismiss anything she says during that time, no matter how valid, as just hormones. One popular suggestion took a more sarcastic angle. If he insists on knowing about bodily functions, then overshare everything. Text him every time she goes to the bathroom, describe clots in detail, rate her bowel movements. Basically, make it obvious how ridiculous it is to claim a right to that kind of information. Overall, commenters thought his demand was unbelievably offensive and invasive, especially considering she was a mortified 11-year-old at the time. They contrasted that with her relationship now, where sharing her cycle with her husband is her choice, not some obligation. What do you think? Is this just a misguided attempt at being prepared and communicative? Or does it cross a serious boundary into controlling behavior and invading her privacy? How would you react if a parent demanded this kind of information from you or from your child? Share your thoughts and your verdict in the comments below. A dream group trip that you've been planning for months, a last-minute change that almost doubles the cost, and one friend stuck in the middle. When everyone else votes to upgrade the vacation, what are you supposed to do if your wallet just can't keep up? Am I the asshole for canceling a trip because my friends changed the plan to something I couldn't afford? I think I ruined a group trip that we'd been planning for months, and even though I feel awful about it, I honestly don't think there was anything else I could have done. So, me and 2 friends went on a group trip in January 2025, and it was so fun that by September, we were already talking about planning another one for 2026. We got started on the planning, but then we realized the plans we had for this new trip would really work best with a group of 4. Since there were only 3 of us, one friend decided to invite another friend of hers, and we all agreed. This was toward the end of November, and everything was going smoothly. Then one day in December, the new girl suggested we change our original destination to somewhere else, because she felt our original destination wouldn't be ideal for a group of 4. The friend who brought her in backed her up, and my other friend sided with me and didn't want to change it, so at first it was 2 against 2. But a few days later, it shifted to 1 against 3, and I was the only one still against changing the destination. I explained my situation to them. I couldn't afford to spend almost double what my original budget was, and the new plan was going to spill over into a new week, whereas the original trip was just for a weekend. I suggested I could just opt out, but they told me that would ruin the whole group of 4 plan. And yeah, if I could afford it, I wouldn't have complained about changing the destination because honestly, the new place was better. But I made it very clear that I just couldn't afford it. I even talked to each of my 2 friends privately, but by that point, the plans were basically locked in. This dragged on for weeks until they really made it clear that I was the minority vote. So I told them I was going to cancel because I couldn't afford the trip and I wasn't willing to go beyond my means. This was 2 weeks before the date they were planning to go. Trying to find decent accommodation with only 2 weeks left turned out to be really hard. They only found one place a few days later, and it wasn't up to their standards. So the trip was officially canceled because there's no need to accept a place like that when the trip was already ruined, because all the plans made for the trip were for a group of 4. So technically, I guess I'm the one who ruined the trip. Top commenters pointed out how weird the group's logic was. They originally wanted a 4th person because the first destination supposedly worked best with 4 people. Then, once the new girl joined, suddenly that same destination was not ideal for 4 and had to be changed. People were asking, what actually changed, other than the new girl's opinion? A lot of users said that, in their view, the friends were the ones who really derailed the trip by refusing to respect the original budget. They felt that pushing someone to almost double their spending and extend the trip into an extra week after plans were already made was unfair. And many commenters emphasized that backing out instead of overspending was a responsible choice. From their perspective, choosing a financially sensible option and refusing to go beyond your means isn't something you should be blamed for, no matter how the group plans were set up. What do you think? If your friends upgraded a trip to something you couldn't afford, would you stretch your budget to go anyway, or cancel like OP did and risk ruining the plans? Let me know your thoughts and your verdict in the comments below. Imagine you put your whole life on pause to help out family with 3 little kids. And suddenly, your simple 30-minute daily walk turns into this huge power struggle. Your shoes mysteriously go missing, people start throwing accusations around, and it all ends with you packing your bags and walking out. Was walking away the right move, or did that cross a line? Am I the asshole for leaving because my sister-in-law hid my shoes to keep me from taking walks? Sorry if some of this sounds a little choppy. The original post was over 5,000 characters when I first wrote it, so I had to trim it down. And just to be clear from the start, she's my sister-in-law, not my sister. My sister-in-law has 3 little kids, and her husband, my stepbrother, had to leave the country for work for a few months. I offered to stay with her so I could help out however she needed, and she happily said yes. I live across town, so it's not like I'm far away or anything. I'd been there for 3 days when my sister-in-law made a comment about me going on daily walks. I've taken a daily walk of at least a mile since October 2018. Yes, even when I have a cold. Yes, even when it's cold outside. Just yes to all of it. On nice days, I usually go around 4 miles. At my sister-in-law's place, I started taking a route that was about 2 miles. I asked if she wanted me to watch the kids so she could go get some exercise, and she scoffed and said she was too busy, but that it must be nice. I was a little confused because I was literally offering to help, but the comments kept coming. She kept trying to poke holes in it. Stuff like, "But it's not really a mile every day, right?" And, "What would you do if you broke your foot? Would you get anxious if you couldn't take a walk?" Then one morning, I couldn't find my shoes. My sister-in-law woke up about an hour later. I was eating breakfast with the kids, and I asked her if she'd seen them. She told me to go check by the back door, and when I got back, she pointed at them by the door and said I must have missed them. I took my walk after telling her that her joke wasn't funny. She was annoyed when I got back and told me she thinks I need to see a therapist for my anxiety or obsession. I told her I do have a therapist, and she said I clearly need a new one because this one isn't helping. I asked her straight up why it bothered her so much that I wanted to take a walk. She said I was supposed to be there to help her with the kids, and I was disappearing for hours at a time. I told her my walks take about 30 minutes, and I do them while the kids are having downtime. I put my shoes in the guest room with the rest of my stuff, and they were gone the next morning. At that point, I just said, "Fuck it," packed my things and left. My sister-in-law called me while I was on my way home and said I was overreacting and being childish, and that this is why I'm single and alone. I told her I don't play these stupid games, and that I would still pick up the girls and stay until she got home from work, but that she's on her own for everything else. Am I the asshole? Edit. I did not expect this many people to say, "I'm not the asshole." I really thought a lot more people would argue that I was, since it has to do with taking care of kids. Reddit was overwhelmingly on OP's side. The top comment said OP is not the asshole, and that it's actually the sister-in-law who might need therapy. They pointed out that something about OP's simple wellness routine clearly triggered her in a weird and unhealthy way. Hiding someone's shoes to stop them from taking a walk is not normal behavior. Another highly upvoted comment said the sister-in-law sounds jealous of OP's self-care. In their view, the sister-in-law resents that OP can take 30 minutes for herself while she feels stuck and overwhelmed. Then, when the sister-in-law realized she'd gone way too far and now looks unhinged, instead of backing down, she doubled down and escalated. That commenter also suggested OP should seriously consider pulling back from helping if the sister-in-law keeps acting out, and maybe even disappear until the stepbrother comes back. They recommended calmly telling the stepbrother exactly what happened. That the sister-in-law said OP needs therapy for daily walks, called her childish, and blamed her being single and alone on not tolerating her things being hidden. Their point was, how is the sister-in-law going to explain losing a reliable live-in helper and weekday babysitter because she decided to play controlling games? Another commenter focused on the sister-in-law's insult. They quoted, "This is why you are single and alone," and said that if OP is supposedly such a child, then it wouldn't be safe for her to watch the kids at all. In their eyes, childcare is the sister-in-law and the stepbrother's responsibility, not OP's. And the sister-in-law can always pay a babysitter if she doesn't like OP's boundaries. Overall, the consensus was that OP offered a huge favor, kept her walks reasonable, and the sister-in-law crossed the line by sabotaging her belongings and then attacking her personally. What do you think? Was OP right to pack up and leave the moment her shoes went missing again? Or should she have stayed and tried to work it out for the kids' sake? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Is OP the asshole? Is the sister-in-law the asshole? Or is this an everyone sucks situation? A friend crashes at your place to watch your cat. You tell him, help yourself to whatever in the kitchen. And then you come home to find your special occasion bottle completely gone. Is that just a misunderstanding between friends, or did he seriously cross a line? Am I the asshole for asking my friend to pay me back for the wine he drank while house-sitting? So I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I had my friend, a 27-year-old guy, watch my place and my cat for the weekend. I told him he could help himself to whatever in the kitchen, which in my head meant, like, snacks and regular stuff. I get back and realize he opened this $120 bottle of vintage Barolo I was saving for my promotion. He literally drank the whole thing by himself while watching Netflix. When I asked him about it, he got all weird and said I gave him permission because the wine was in the kitchen. Like, okay, but who just drinks a $100 bottle of wine without asking first? I sent him a Venmo request for $80. I even gave him a discount, LOL. And now he's calling me tacky and telling our group chat that I'm a bad host. I feel like there's this unwritten guest logic where you just don't touch the most expensive thing in the house. Like, if I tell you to help yourself to my garage, that doesn't mean you can just drive off in my car. I don't know, am I the asshole here? He's making me feel like I'm being extra, but I really feel like he took advantage of me. I don't know, it's also just $120. Reddit's top comments mostly sided against the original poster on this one. The highest voted comment says OP is the asshole. Their point is that expensive and cheap wine often look the same to people who don't know anything about wine. From his perspective, he was doing OP a favor by house and cat sitting, and OP casually said, help yourself to whatever. The commenter says if you have a pricey bottle you care about, you need to be specific, not vague, and that sending a Venmo request afterward comes off as tacky. Another top comment echoes that. OP literally told him to help himself to whatever, and he did exactly that. Most people can't tell a $15 bottle from a $120 bottle just by looking, and they're not going to go hunting for receipts or clues. So in their view, this one's on OP, not the friend. A third highly upvoted response also rules OP the asshole, but frames it as a miscommunication. They say if OP had said in advance, hey, anything but that bottle, I'm saving it for my promotion, then asking for full compensation would make sense. But since OP gave blanket permission, they think the right move now is to swallow their pride, let it go, and not damage the friendship over it. What do you think? If you tell someone, help yourself to whatever, does that really include a $120 bottle of wine? Or is there an obvious line they shouldn't cross? Was OP reasonable to ask for money back? Or did they create this problem by being too vague? Let me know your verdict in the comments.